Okay, I hope you've seen episode 1 of the Black Point Wildlife Drive video. And if you haven't, you can watch it later. It doesn't matter what order you watch them in, but just an amazing spot right here is where we did episode 1. And then this episode, we're going to check out the rest of the Black Point Wildlife Drive all around this road with all these fantastic places to photograph birds. And it's going to be great. And all of this is on Merritt Island, which is where NASA is. You may be familiar with the vehicle assembly building. I'm sure you've seen it on television at some point. Well, we are on the island where the NASA vehicle assembly building is. So let's go. What an amazing location. And we're still at the entrance. We hadn't even started going down the Black Point Wildlife Drive yet, but we're going to do that now. Here is a little blue heron that was doing some fishing, and I was able to capture a reflection shot of it, and it did catch a fish. It almost looks like a crab, but that's just water drops coming off the fish it caught. And I made a video clip of that same little blue heron as it was walking around. And here is a green heron, which is the only green heron that we saw, and there's some man-made stuff there at the Black Point Wildlife Drive, including this pipe system, and I photographed the green heron there. Here's Heather's photograph of that same little blue heron. She got a couple of shots of it. Here is her other little blue heron shot. Just a beautiful bird. We don't see these in the Tennessee area too much. And here's Heather's shot of a male northern shoveler, so that's really cool. And she also got a couple of shots of the green heron there in that pipe that connects two different pools there along the Black Point Wildlife Drive. I also made a video clip, and all my video clips of the birds are with the R7 and the 100 to 500. This is two pair of blue-winged teals, two males and two females who were dabbling there in some of the water on the Black Point Wildlife Drive. They have some really nice boardwalks out here with blinds at the end of them. I don't think these were here last year. I could be wrong. It was raining like crazy last year, so if they were here, we couldn't get to them. This is a lesser Yellowlegs, a photograph that I made from that blind, and I also photographed this Reddish Egret that was so far away, and I ended up getting some better Reddish Egret shots later in the day. And here's a grebe that I made a photograph of. Love the reflections on this. There's a little bit of foreground bokeh here, and this is Heather's shot of the lesser Yellowlegs. And Heather also got a shot of the grebe with also beautiful light on the water that the grebe was swimming in. A lot of areas of the Black Point Wildlife Drive don't have good sun angle on them in the morning from the driver's side of the car, but we just turned a corner and the sun angle got great. And right outside here was a Reddish Egret, and we got a lot of shots of it and a video clip too. The Reddish Egret is one of the least common of the wading birds, so when I found one relatively close to the car with good sunlight on it, I got a little carried away and made many photographs of this beautiful bird. But I don't regret it at all, because they say there's only about 2,400 of these in the United States, and those are all on barrier islands, with a global population of about 15,000. All are around the equator, southern United States or northern South America and in between. But they are amazing birds to see and photograph, and I was thrilled to get the opportunity to photograph this one, even though I did get carried away and make maybe a few too many shots. Here's a tricolored heron, full adult, with the beautiful red eyes that I photographed. Got a couple of shots of it in this vegetation. And next up, we'll take a look at some of Heather's shots. She got a few shots as well of the beautiful Reddish Egret there with good sunlight on it. And it was really cool to see this bird with its interesting colors, and even the beak, black on one side and pink on the other side. It's just a really cool looking bird. It's shaped like this tricolored heron and other egrets, but its colors are unique and its population is really low. So we need to keep an eye on the Reddish Egret. And here is another tricolored heron that Heather photographed. I also made a video clip of the Reddish Egret, and it almost looks like there's banding in this, but those lines that are on the Reddish Egret, as you can see them here, That's sunlight reflecting on the waves in the water, but it does make an interesting pattern. And a lot of the photographs that we were working on of the birds on this day, they had these lines on them, and it was just sunlight reflecting off the waves in the water. Looks pretty cool. Looks like the egret might have found itself something to eat. There it is, the reddish egret. We're enjoying this stretch where there's good sun angle. We got a reddish and a tricolored, and every once in a while American white pelicans fly by, which we love to photograph those. Most of the time they're way too far away, but I think we may have gotten at least one small in the frame American white pelican shot. And I also saw a butterfly of some sort that I photographed, because you know the 100 to 500 is a good butterfly lens. Here's my photograph of a adult tricolored heron that's in a very similar place to where Heather photographed it earlier in the video. And here is a snowy egret. Love those golden slippers. Next up are 3 American white pelicans flying way in the high in the sky, but I was able to get a shot. And here's that butterfly. I think it's a great southern white butterfly. Really pretty. And here is Heather's shot of that snowy egret in the same perch as mine, and she also made this photograph of some of the American white pelicans as they flew by. They never got close enough to fill the frame. As you make your way around the Black Point Wildlife Drive, there's a place where you can stop, and there's a restroom, and this is the spot where we were parked. And I walked up this trail a little ways a few years ago, and a huge gator growled at me and scared the crap out of me. I'll put a link to that video somewhere. And then today, Heather and I have come over to this little observation platform, and not a whole lot going on. There's an ibis. Yeah. But we've gotten some bird in flight photos from right here. A little blue flew by, and then we saw our first spoonbills of the day. A pair flew right towards us. The light was kind of bad on them, but I think we got a shot. Here's an adult little blue heron in flight, and the clouds kind of match the purple on its neck. This is an ibis of some sort. I think it's a juvenile white ibis. Just beautiful. Caught it in flight. Here's an in-flight shot of a kingfisher, a belted kingfisher. I'm not sure if this one is a male or a female. And here is a beautiful roseate spoonbill that I captured in flight. And now here is a tricolored heron. I think this one is slightly subadult. And next up is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 American white pelicans in flight. And here's a video clip I made of some American white pelicans. I have no idea how many this is, but it's quite a few. And it's not the most we've ever seen at one time by a wide margin, but it was definitely the most we saw at one time on this particular day. And it was cool to make a video clip of them flying around in circles. Here's Heather's photograph of a roseate spoonbill, just a beautiful bird, one of Heather's favorites. And Heather also photographed this snowy egret there contemplating the water. We found another place to stop and make some photos of birds flying around. We saw a hawk. We think it's probably a red shoulder. And then Heather spotted really close beside the road, she spotted a palm warbler, and we both got shots of that. So a small bird for a change here at the Black Point Wildlife Drive. Here is my palm warbler shot, and these palm warblers are really common in Florida. I've even seen them at Walt Disney World. We see them sometimes back home in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but they're definitely more common in Florida. And this size bird is really more the size bird that Heather and I photograph most often, but we do enjoy photographing the larger wading birds as well. We stayed in this area a little bit more, and that hawk that we saw, turns out we think it's either a juvenile or more likely a female northern harrier, so that's really cool. Both Heather and I got a tiny in the frame shot of it. It was flying around way out there. Only other time I've seen a harrier was at Cades Cove a few years back. I'm going to show you these northern harrier shots just so you can see that we did see a northern harrier, but none of these photographs are outstanding photos by any stretch of the imagination. The first 3 are my photos of the northern harrier, probably an adult female, possibly a juvenile, and this last one is Heather's northern harrier photograph. We turned left on a little road that goes off the main Black Point Wildlife Drive, and it goes all over to what's called Marsh Bay Creek. And we found a bunch of birds over here, and we saw some spoonbills over here, and there was another bunch of snowy egret feeding the way we like to watch them feed, where they hop off of a branch and fly down across the water and drag their feet and dip their head in and get a minnow and then land and eat it. Pretty cool spot. This was a really good spot, and this is a adult tricolored heron that was there. And look, this reminds me of part 1 of the Black Point Wildlife Drive video with this snowy egret fishing. And here is another snowy egret. Gosh, I just love those birds. I also made kind of an up-close portrait of a snowy egret in this area. And then my last shot is this roseate spoonbill that was waiting around with its beautiful eyes. And Heather did a fantastic job in this area. She got this awesome looking in-flight roseate spoonbill shot, and then she got this spoonbill in-flight shot as well, before also making photographs of this, I think, slightly subadult tricolored heron. And here is another tricolored heron, probably slightly subadult as well. Next up from Heather is a beautiful snowy egret there in some vegetation, and she made another snowy egret photograph here. This one has a very serious look about it, doesn't it? Now here's a snowy egret that's waiting around, probably getting ready to do some fishing. And Heather loves the spoonbills, and she made a number of photographs of this spoonbill that was waiting. I think this is the same one that I photographed as well, but she got 2 or 3 different poses of this spoonbill there in the water. And she also photographed in a similar area. She got this wood stork, which I didn't get any photographs of the wood stork, so I'm glad she was able to capture a couple of photographs of this wood stork there at the Black Point Wildlife Drive. The Black Point Wildlife Drive certainly did not disappoint today. I don't think we saw quite as many spoonbills as we did last year when it was raining. Wow, I just got a cloud, that feels good. But we did see lots of birds, and I think maybe some of the best snowy egret photos we've ever gotten came today. So that was really cool. And I'll put a link at the end of the video to last year's trip here and to the first time we came here, which was in July. Last year was January, and this is also a January trip. The Black Point Wildlife Drive on Merritt Island. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see some more. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. Bye-bye.